My sister and I both got into high school at the same time, but our mother could only afford to send one of us. In my previous life, my sister chose to continue her studies, while I went to work in a factory. The intensity of high school was too much for my sister to keep up with, and her grades plummeted. She even got into an early relationship and became pregnant. I gained the factory manager's favor and rose rapidly through the ranks. My sister, unwilling to accept this, killed me in a fit of hatred. When I opened my eyes again, we had both been reborn on the day the results were announced. Without hesitation, my sister pushed me aside. "Mom, let my sister go to school." Watching Mom nod with a guilty expression, my younger sister smiled. "Sister, this time it's your turn to endure the hardships of studying." She had no idea, in my previous life, how I longed to study. "The family is really struggling. I've borrowed from all my relatives and friends, and I've only managed to scrape together 5,000 yuan. My mother's voice came through, filled with pain. I opened my eyes in confusion. Then I saw my mother, hunched over, crouching in front of me, her weathered face filled with guilt. She kept rubbing her hands together, and after a long while, she finally spoke with difficulty. "The family can only afford to send one person to school. Nyan, and which one of you will go?" I suddenly snapped back to reality, only to find myself reborn into the summer after my twin sister Joanin and I graduated from middle school. I opened my mouth, but before I could speak, Joanin beside me suddenly pushed me aside with great force, squeezed in front of my mother, and declared firmly, "Mom, let my sister go to school. I'll go work in the factory." I suddenly looked up. Joanin also happened to look at me provocatively. With just one glance, I knew that Joanin had also been reborn. It was the same in my previous life. Joanin and I both got into the same high school, but after Dad died in a car accident, the entire burden of the family fell on Mom. She was a rural woman with no education or skills, earning only 2,000 yuan a month, yet the high school registration fee alone was 5,000 yuan. Naturally, she couldn't afford to support 2 high school students. After careful consideration, she told us with great sorrow that the family could only afford to send one person to school, while the other would have to work in a factory arranged by our uncle to help support the family. On one side was the simple life of school, and on the other was the hustle and bustle of an electronics factory. Joanin chose the former without hesitation, although I also wanted to continue my studies. But she still gave the opportunity to Joanin. Who would have thought that the pressure of high school studies was too great, and Joanin couldn't keep up for a while. On top of that, after moving to the city, she was dazzled by the bustling life and actually started secretly dating early behind her family's back. Using the money I sent her every month, she indulged in a life of extravagance outside, until the news of her pregnancy came, and the school was going to expel her. By that time, I had already risen to the position of supervisor at the factory. She came to me, begging for money to have an abortion, and then to arrange a team leader position for her at the factory. I gave her a slap for the first time, forcing her to go back to studying. Who would have thought that Joanin went crazy, pointing at me and cursing. "I knew you were jealous of me, couldn't stand to see me doing well. Why can you make money easily and live a good life, while I have to suffer at school anyway? I can't go on living, and you won't have it easy either." Her eyes red with anger, she dragged me and jumped from the 6th floor. The memory of Joanin's ferocious expression gradually overlapped with her current smugness. I instantly understood what she meant. Facing my mother's inquiring gaze, I also nodded. "All right, I'll go to school." A few days later, my uncle came to our house. He handed an employment form to my mother, his gaze lingering on me and Joanin. "Are you really going to let Nyan go to school and have Anin go to work? I think Anin has been pampered since childhood and might not be able to handle the hardship. Besides, the new factory manager is a meticulous person. Nyan is steady and hardworking, so she might be more likely to win his favor." My mother said, "Let the children walk the paths they've chosen for themselves." Joanin, afraid my mother would change her mind, snatched the employment form and filled in her name without hesitation. Seeing this, my uncle had no choice but to nod and say, "All right." After my uncle left with the employment form, Joanin gave me a sinister look. "What do you mean by diligent and hardworking? With just a junior high school diploma, you managed to become a supervisor. Who would believe there's nothing shady going on? Mom's not here. Joanin doesn't even want to pretend." The tone of voice was full of malice. I frowned. "What do you mean?" Joanin raised an eyebrow, looking at me with disdain. "Who knows if you used some underhanded methods to seduce that factory director? Otherwise, with nothing to offer, how could you possibly catch his eye?" I was a bit angry. "Joanin, watch your mouth." She scoffed and looked me up and down suspiciously. "Tell me honestly, in your past life, did you know the factory director was the illegitimate son of the Shin family in the capital, and that's why you seduced him?" I don't know. Who believes that? Anyway, I've got the upper hand in this lifetime. Once I build a good relationship with the factory director, maybe I can even go to the Shin family in the capital with him. Joanan thought that as long as she pleased the factory director and gained his appreciation, she would have the chance to go to the Shin family in the future, so she looked down on me, and I couldn't be bothered with her either. We spent the entire summer vacation in such a cold and distant manner. However, in September, when one high school started, Joanan unexpectedly came to see me off. Looking at the culturally rich school gate in front of her, she showed a look of disgust, then turned to me with a smile and said, "Joan, for the sake of our last bit of sisterly affection, I might as well remind you that someone like you, with no money or influence, is at the very bottom of the food chain in this school. Can you guess how they'll treat you?" I carried my luggage with an expressionless face. I had heard about Joanan's past life experiences from her before. Every time she came to me for money, she would cry and complain, "Sister, I'm the only one in the whole class who doesn't have Adidas shoes. They say I'm lowering the class standard, and if I still wear cheap stuff next week, they'll strip me naked and throw me in the bathroom. Give me some more money. I want to buy each of them a pen." What? You ask me why I want to buy them. If I don't buy them, how can I get closer to them? It's not that I haven't told the teacher, but in order to secure funding, the school treats these rich second-generation students like ancestors. They always turn a blind eye to bullying on campus. Moreover, Joanan's academic performance was very poor, which made the teachers dislike her even more. Perhaps it was because she thought of all the hardships she had endured in her past life. Joanan's expression grew even darker. "Sister, just enjoy the pain I suffered in my past life." With that, she turned and left without looking back. My entrance exam scores were average, so I was placed in class 5. As soon as I entered the classroom, I took up my phone and started recording a video. In the corner, a few privileged kids were roughhousing when they saw me come in. They sized me up from head to toe. Then he said loudly, "Look at the shoes she's wearing. They're all yellowed. She looks as thin as a monkey. If you didn't know better, you'd think she escaped from a refugee camp." If I didn't look closely, I would have thought she was a man. "Hey, country girl, come over and say hello. From now on, make sure to steer clear of US at school." Got it. With that, a few of them stood up and started walking toward me. I expressionlessly turned the camera toward them. Seeing this, the boy at the front reached up to grab it. "Who gave you permission to film us? Turn it off, or I'll make you regret it." I glanced at him, then, speaking into my phone, I said, "Hey everyone, this is my classroom. My classmates are all full of energy, and I'm really looking forward to the next 3 years of high school life." After saying that, stop the recording. The overbearing group was taken aback, exchanging glances, then, frowning, they asked me, "What were you doing just now?" "Recording a video. I'm a lifestyle blogger. I've been at it since middle school and have accumulated nearly 1 million followers." The group showed expressions of shock, eyeing me with suspicion. "Really? 1 million followers? You, dressed in rags? You look like a little country bumpkin from the countryside." I smiled without a trace of flaw. "This is just a persona. A girl from the countryside comes to the city to study. Works hard to succeed on her own." Netizens nowadays love this kind of story. I still don't believe it. "Show me your account. That's personal privacy. I'll show you when we get to know each other better." After saying that, I calmly returned to my seat. It seems they don't intend to hold a grudge over their earlier malice. My calm demeanor, observed by them, made them believe about 70 to 80% of what I had just said. After all, a genuine country bumpkin would likely have been terrified upon seeing troublemakers like them. With my back turned to them, I revealed a sly smile. In my previous life, following the factory director, I gained quite a bit of experience. Deceiving a few high school students is no big deal. They stared at my back for a while, then curled their lips in slight boredom, but didn't give me any more trouble. After all, as a blogger with millions of followers, exposing them online would also cause trouble for them. They may be a bit of a mess, but they don't want to really get themselves into trouble. And, a blogger, isn't that just an internet celebrity? That's actually pretty cool. I was completely unaware of the inner thoughts of these adolescent, chunibi teenagers. The first day of school was relatively relaxed. In the evening, back at the dorm, after washing up, I took out my phone. There were hundreds of videos I had recorded today in the photo album. All of them captured campus life. The high school's management of students' mobile phones is not very strict. In class, even half of the students openly take out their phones. When asked, they say they are recording the lesson to listen to it at home. I organized the recordings and edited them into a video of about 5 minutes. In my previous life, People in the factory often live-streamed their factory diaries to earn extra money. Because I was young and learned quickly, they paid me to help them edit videos. My editing skills have become extremely proficient. I skillfully saved and published the work. After much thought, I gritted my teeth and spent half of my living expenses to buy the recommended package. After finishing all that, I took out my English book, as expected. I remembered all the words on it. In my previous life, I followed the factory manager, starting from dirty and tiring jobs that required no skills, to later running business operations. My biggest regret was my low level of education. The factory manager often said to me with regret, "Nyan Nyan, you're good at everything, but your knowledge is too shallow, otherwise, you could definitely reach even greater heights." So after I earned some money, I started buying books, hiring tutors, and taking online courses. I even passed the CT6 exam through self-study in English. I am responsible for liaising with many foreign clients at the factory. I spent an hour memorizing all the vocabulary from the entire book. I then put on my headphones and listened to an hour of audio practice before finally falling into a deep sleep amidst the excited chatter of my roommates. A month passed by in a fulfilling manner, filled with recording videos and studying. This past month, perhaps because of the deliberate show-offs by the rich kids in the class, my identity as a blogger quickly spread. Of course, some didn't believe it, but on one hand, out of respect for the rich kids' pride, no one exposed me. On the other hand, since these rumors were spread by the rich kids themselves, they naturally exaggerated them to make them sound convincing, and no one doubted their authenticity. She's recording videos with her phone every day. If she's not a blogger, why would she have so much free time to do something like this? Besides, don't be fooled by her shabby clothes. She doesn't hesitate to spend money. Poverty is probably just part of her persona. Hearing these words, I couldn't help but find it amusing. Over the past month, I've indeed been quite generous when it comes to buying stationery and study materials. This is because, in the second week of me documenting my study life, the video suddenly went viral, gaining over 1 million views. Netizens enjoyed watching me study hard and live earnestly, and they liked and followed me in droves. In just 1 month, I gained nearly 100,000 followers. I even received advertisements from 2 snack brands. The money from traffic and ads quickly filled up my balance. Of course, while recording the ads, I also let the second-generation rich kids get a few seconds of screen time. Firstly, it was to thank them for putting so much effort into promoting my persona at school. Secondly, most of these second-generation rich kids are good-looking and well-dressed, which is quite friendly to some appearance-conscious netizens. The second-generation heirs were quite pleased to be included in the shot. Even the way they looked at me became much friendlier. Soon, the end of the month arrived. After the monthly exams were over, the school gave us 2 days off. I traveled for over 3 hours by car before finally arriving home. As soon as I stepped through the door, I heard the sound of a heated argument erupting inside. My mother pleaded earnestly, "Since you have your own salary now, you should save some money for your sister's education. She'll need to pay for tutoring and study materials in the future, and there will be plenty of expenses." Joanne, however, acted arrogantly and domineeringly. "Stop the nonsense and give me this 500 right now. Why does she have it and I don't? Are you favoring her?" In the end, my mom gave the money to Joanne. She took the money, satisfied, and tucked it into her bag. Turning around and seeing me, she raised an eyebrow with a sarcastic smirk. "Oh, the top student of the family is back." My mom turned around and saw me, her expression softening a bit as she immediately stood up and said, "Nyan Nyan, you must be tired from studying. Mom will go make you something delicious to eat." Joanne crossed her arms and sneered, "You even cook delicious food for her. What will you do if she can't even get into a vocational college, now that she's working in a factory?" She naturally has no idea about my life at school. She probably thinks I'm just like her in her past life, constantly bullied and unable to focus on studying. My mom is used to Joanne's sharp tongue. She rolled her eyes at her and walked into the kitchen. I frowned, staring at Joanne's pocket. "You earned 3,000 yuan this month, while mom only makes 2,000 sweeping the streets. How can you still ask her for money?" Of course I spent it all. Do you think buying clothes and jewelry doesn't cost money? She's my mom too, so giving me money is only natural. Who are you to interfere? I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. In her previous life, her mother gave Joanne 500 yuan for living expenses each month, spent 1,000 on rent, utilities, and daily expenses, and saved the remaining 500 for Joanne's education. 500 yuan was naturally not enough for Joanne to use, so she would call me from time to time, complaining about being short of money. But since I also had many expenses for entertaining clients, I told Joanne to be more frugal. Who would have thought she would become furious and say, "Doesn't your factory provide 2 meals a day? What expenses could you possibly have? 2 sets of clothes per season for changing and washing are enough. You're still so young, there's no need to dress up." I have many expenses at school. So hurry up and transfer the money to me. You're the older sister. The money you earn should naturally be spent on me. Can you stop being so selfish? The words from my past life are still vivid in my mind. How come when it comes to herself, she's so stingy that she even wants to take money from mom? Perhaps the meaning in my eyes was too straightforward. Joanne felt guilty for 2 seconds, then suddenly straightened up with righteous indignation. What are you staring at? You gave it to me yourself before, but now I'm not as foolish as you. Besides, I only have $3,000 a month. What can I even do with that? Speaking of this, she gets really angry. She thought that as long as she pleased the factory manager, she would gain favor just like I did in my previous life. After all, she believed she was prettier than me and would definitely do better, so she dressed up flamboyantly every day, looking more like she was entering a beauty pageant than a factory. But who would have thought, in this past month, the factory manager rarely came to the factory. Even when he did come, he never spared her a single glance. Instead, he spoke a few words to those who were silently tightening screws and gave them some pointers. Joanne was utterly perplexed, but she never looks for the reason within herself, so she stared at me inquisitively and asked, Joanne, what tricks did you use in your past life to seduce the factory director? I scowled. The factory director and I are just in a superior-subordinate relationship. At that moment, my mom called us to eat, and I immediately walked over, watching my resolute back. Joanne curled her lips disdainfully. TCH, what's with the act of being aloof? Isn't it just because you're afraid the factory manager will take a liking to me and bring me to the capital for a better life, even without you? I can make it on my own. The 2-day holiday passed in the blink of an eye. Before leaving home to return to school, my mom packed a lot of the pickled vegetables she had made for me. She also held on to me, chattering away with many reminders, over and over. It was the same repeated phrase, study hard and aim to get into a good university. Joanne heard this and sneered in disdain. You expect Joanne to get into college, you might as well expect the rooster at home to lay eggs. My mom gave her a light slap. Don't talk nonsense, child. Can't you wish your sister well? Joanne rolled her eyes. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. Joanne definitely won't get into college, and who knows, she might not even want to continue studying in a few months. After that, I returned to my busy life of studying and filming videos. Occasionally, I would even live stream while doing homework after evening self-study sessions. Gradually, my savings grew larger and larger. I had wanted to tell my mother about earning money to ease her burden, but every time I went home, I would see Joanne arrogantly asking my mother for money. I had no choice but to keep it to myself, and Joanne seemed convinced that I wouldn't be able to continue my studies and would drop out. She was afraid that I would eventually join the factory and snatch away the wealth and prosperity that belonged to her. So she put even more effort into her appearance. Dressing for work every day as if she were going to a nightclub, countless rumors about her immediately spread throughout the factory. Mom tried to persuade her several times, both openly and subtly, but each time, she would impatiently cut me off, and so, a semester passed. As winter break approached, my savings had already reached $500,000. With that money in hand, on a weekend morning, instead of going home, I headed to the back gate of the school. Looking at the store for transfer advertisement posted on the glass door of the desolate little shop in front of me, I took out my newly bought phone and dialed the owner's number. An hour later, a BMW stopped in front of the shop. A short, stout middle-aged man got out of the car and looked at me with suspicion. So you're the one who wants to buy my shop? I nodded. The middle-aged man, seeing me holding the latest model phone, thought I was the daughter of some wealthy family, opening a shop to start a business. He said with a smile, since you're just a young girl, I won't take advantage of you. A flat price of $200,000, and this shop along with everything inside is all yours. I rolled my eyes. I turned and walked away. Hey. The man quickly stopped me, the smile on his face fading a bit. You're not thinking my price is too high, are you? You look pretty young. Probably don't know the market rates for storefronts. He was just about to launch into a long explanation. I interrupted him. Although this shop is located on campus, there's news that the roads around here are going to be rebuilt, and it'll definitely take at least 3 to 5 years to finish. Plus, it's at the back gate of the school. So business is bound to be affected, otherwise. Why would so many owners be in such a hurry to sell their shops lately? If you're not serious about selling, I'll just contact someone else. He didn't expect me to be so well informed. He quickly put on a smile and started giving me the usual official spiel. Seeing that I wasn't budging, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and say, $150,000, not a penny less. All right, deal. $150,000 was indeed the lowest price. If it weren't for the reason I mentioned earlier, even if it were $300,000, he wouldn't have trouble selling this storefront. In fact, I do know. It is true that a road will be built near the school, but it is not this one. Instead, This road will be connected with the adjacent one, merged, and developed into a bustling commercial street. In my previous life, during my senior year of high school, Joanin, the storefronts on this street had already reached a high price of 2 million. I only found out by chance when I followed the factory manager to buy a storefront. After that, I spent another 300,000 to buy 3 slightly smaller storefronts. After handling the store transfer, I finally went home. Who would have thought that as soon as I arrived at the door, I saw my mother rushing out in a panic. When she saw me, it was as if she had found her pillar of support. Grabbing my hand, she said, "Nian Nian, something has happened to your sister. You need to come with me to the police station right away." At the police station, Joanin was sitting on a chair, disheveled and with a face that alternated between red and pale, quietly sobbing. Meanwhile, 2 police officers were speaking with a tall man around 30 years old. When my mother rushed over, one of the officers asked with a hint of disdain, "Are you Joanin's mother? This Mr. Shin has reported that your daughter illegally drugged his drink and attempted to seduce him, which is extremely serious." As soon as he finished speaking, I suddenly looked up and turned my gaze toward the man. A familiar face came into view. It was none other than Shintua, the factory manager of the electronics plant, who had recognized my talent in my previous life. However, the man who was always gentle and kind to me in my past life now has a dark, stern face and speaks in a cold tone. "You usually don't work hard at the factory, only caring about dressing up and having fun. I let it slide because you're young, but I never expected you to do something so disgraceful." "Perfect timing. Your mother is here. Let her see what you've dressed up like." My mother stepped forward, her face deathly pale. Seeing Joanin in a lace miniskirt and black stockings, she felt her vision go dark. "Anin, how could you do such a thing? Do you have any shame in front of me and your sister?" Hearing the word sister, Joanin looked up at me. Perhaps it was my calm demeanor, contrasting with her current disheveled state, that made her feel a sense of imbalance. She suddenly stood up, walked over to me in a few steps, pointed at my nose, and scolded me. "Zhou Nian, what right do you have to laugh at me? Weren't you also relying on seducing men to climb up before? How much more noble are you than me?" The before she mentioned refers to my past life, but when these words fell into the ears of others, they took on a different meaning. I didn't have time to speak up and defend myself. The next second, my mother slapped Joanin hard across the face. "Anin, how could you say that about your sister? Apologize to her right now." Joanin covered her face, unable to believe it. "Since we were little, our mother has always doted on both of us sisters. This was the first time he had ever hit her, and it was because of me." She shot a venomous glare at me and my mother, pushing us aside. She ran out of the police station without looking back. Shintua had never intended to hold Joanin accountable. After she ran away, he saw my mother apologizing repeatedly, her gray hair paired with a face full of wrinkles, looking as old as 60. Shintua sighed. "I've heard from the workers that your family is indeed struggling, and it's not easy for you to manage the household. But the child's education still needs to be taken seriously." My mother nodded and bowed. "Yes, yes. My younger daughter is a bit rebellious, but my older daughter is obedient and sensible, and she studies well. She attends a key provincial high school, and her teacher even called to praise her for her hard work." Shintuo's gaze fell upon me. In just an instant, he withdrew his gaze and turned to leave. After the matter at the police station was resolved, my mother and I returned home, only to find that Joanin had not come back. We thought she had just gone out for a while. Little did we know that by evening, as night was about to fall, Joanin still hadn't returned, and her phone was unreachable. At this point, my mother panicked and pulled me along to go out and look for her. Little did we know that before we could even step out of the house, I saw a man walk in through the door. He was dressed in a suit and tie, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, carrying a carton of milk and a box of nutritional supplements in his hands, with a polite yet distant smile on his face. As soon as he entered, the man said in a gentle tone, "Shirjin, it's been a long time." Seeing this person's face, my mother was as if struck by lightning, frozen on the spot. Her lips trembled, and she opened her mouth several times, but before any words could come out, tears fell like a broken string. After a long while, my mother, trembling and in disbelief, squeezed out a few words as if using all the strength of her life. "Wenshuan, is it really you?" The man nodded. "It's me." After speaking, he looked at me again. "Is this Nian or Anin? They've both grown so big, and their features are quite proper." Like me, I remained expressionless, supporting my mother's trembling body as she tried to step forward. My gaze suddenly turned cold. "This man is none other. It's my father, who has been dead for 15 years. My father and mother had an arranged marriage. They only held a wedding banquet and never registered their marriage. After getting married, they used the wedding gifts to open a shop in the county town. My father was responsible for driving and sourcing goods, while my mother managed the shop. At the age of 3, my father drove off a cliff due to fatigue and disappeared without a trace. But everyone assumed he was dead. after all. Even the truck was shattered to pieces, let alone a person. My mother was overwhelmed with the immense joy that my father might still be alive and was about to step forward. Just then, another woman walked in through the door. She was wearing a down jacket and had on exquisite makeup, looking about 20 years younger than my mother. As soon as she entered, the woman linked arms with my father and asked with a haughty expression, "Wenchuan, is this your old home? It's so shabby, it must have been tough for you." My mother's excited expression instantly turned deathly pale. She looked urgently at my father, as if seeking an answer. "Wenchuan, who is she?" The woman nudged my father's arm. My father immediately said, "This is my wife." My mother couldn't believe it. "She's your wife? Then who am I?" My father frowned. "Shirjin, don't get so worked up. She saved me, and we fell in love at first sight. After being with her, I finally understood the true meaning of love. If you want me to be happy, you should let me go." The woman curled her lips and said disdainfully, "Why bother explaining so much to them? You two never even got a marriage certificate. In the end, it's all her own fault for being so cheap, staying with you without any status and even having 2 children. After saying that, she looked at me, a hint of jealousy flashing in her eyes. My father nodded and continued her words, "Shirjin, I don't want to dwell on the past anymore. I've started a whole new life now, and the reason I came back this time is to take my 2 daughters to the city so they can live a better life." My mother widened her eyes, instantly snapping out of her sadness. She gripped my hand tightly and looked at my father with caution. "You want to take An and Nyanyan away? On what grounds? For over a decade, you clearly weren't dead. Yet you hid with another woman and never cared about me or our daughters. Now that they've grown up, you show up and think you can just take them away with a few casual words. You're dreaming." My father's words just now snapped her back to reality. His interaction with the woman also made my mother see clearly the heartless man who had abandoned his wife and daughters. My father's face turned pale, then flushed with anger. He said, "Shirjin, why are you so harsh with your words? I'm only thinking of what's best for our daughters. I have a house and a car in the city now, and I run a small factory. My life is comfortable and happy. Look at you, your home is bare, and you earn a meager salary every month. How can you support 2 daughters? If you insist on keeping them, you're just holding them back. Do you understand? Our family matters are none of your business. Even if we starve to death or work ourselves to the bone, even if we have to beg, we won't accept any charity from you. Get out, you're just being stubborn." My father cursed angrily and then added, "You refused so decisively. Have you even asked for your daughter's opinion? She's grown up now. Does she really want to continue living in this kind of family, in a life without any light?" After saying that, he turned to look at me, speaking gently. "Good daughter, come with your dad. I'll take you to the city for a better life. Your Aunt Bai has prepared a very beautiful dress for you. Your Aunt Bai and I don't have any children. As long as you come, you'll be our most precious daughter." I curled my lips and sneered coldly, "No need. I don't care for your wealth and glory." My father's face darkened for a moment. "How can you be so ungrateful?" After saying that, he seemed to suddenly remember that he still had a daughter. Those sharp eyes swept around the room. "There's still a daughter. Let her come out, and I'll ask if she's willing to come back to the city with me for a better life." My mother blocked the doorway, looking at him as if he were her father's murderer. "Stop shouting, and won't leave with you either. As long as I'm here, I won't allow you to take any of my daughters away." As soon as my mother finished speaking, a firm voice suddenly came from the doorway. It was Joanin. "Dad, I'm willing. I'll go with you to the city for a better life." My father's face broke into a triumphant smile. He turned to coax Joanin, saying, "That's more like it." He looked Joanin up and down, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. She was still wearing that lace miniskirt at the moment, with her exposed skin looking fair and delicate. Her made-up face appeared a bit more beautiful and refined than mine. The woman surnamed Bai also shook her hand with satisfaction. "This isn't in. She's so pretty. I'm Auntie Bai, and from now on, I'll be your mother. Don't worry, Auntie doesn't have a daughter, so I'll treat you like my own." Joanin nodded obediently. "Okay, Auntie Bai." The 3 of them were enjoying themselves, looking just like a family, but my mother was deeply hurt and said to Joanin in disbelief, "Anin, your father hasn't cared about us for over a decade. We've suffered so much. Have you forgotten all of that?" Joanin curled her lips and said, "You only favor my sister. Does it even matter to you whether I'm here or not? Besides, you said it yourself, following you would only mean hardship. Look at Aunt Bai and then look at yourself. What right do you have to stop me from leaving? Is it wrong for me to want a better life? Anin, how could you say such a thing?" Afraid that Joanin might say something else to hurt my mother's feelings, I interjected. "He disappeared for over a decade and now suddenly shows up, urgently wanting to take someone away. Are you really comfortable with that?" As soon as the words were spoken, the woman surnamed Bai and my father's expressions darkened a bit. My father said angrily, Zhou Nianyan, I am her father, how could I possibly harm her? The woman surnamed by also chimed in, exactly, we are adults, and she's just a child, what could we possibly want from her? There's plenty to want, but I didn't say it, I've said all I can. Zhouanin is jumping into the fire pit herself, and I can't stop her. Zhouanin glared at me, Zhou Nianyan, you're just too cowardly and jealous that I can live a good life, ha. You can stay here and keep working your way up through odd jobs. I'm going to the city to be a yen lady. After she finished speaking, she eagerly pulled my dad and Mr. By along. The group left like a gust of wind. Throughout the entire winter break, my mom was gloomy and unhappy. On New Year's Eve, my mom prepared a table full of dishes. The dishes were simple, but they tasted delicious. We sat at the table and opened a bottle of wine. My mother's eyes turned red after just 2 sips, and she said in a hoarse voice, Nian Nian, look at the place we're living in now. It's still a rental that costs just a few hundred yuan a month. I only make 2,000 yuan a month, and my health isn't as good as it used to be. Staying with me has truly made you suffer too much. Maybe Anan was right, if you had gone with your dad, you wouldn't have to live this kind of hard life anymore. Nian Nian, do you think I made a mistake? Not at all, Mom, you're an amazing woman, the person I admire most. After I finished speaking, I took a red envelope from my pocket and handed it to her. She chuckled, you silly child, I should be the one giving you a red envelope, but she didn't refuse it. It felt quite thick, it must have been saved up in small amounts, 1 or 5 at a time, feeling a pang of sorrow. She opened it right in front of me. The next second, she froze in place, her eyes gradually widening in shock, and she stood there stunned for a full 30 seconds. This, my mom looked at the red envelope filled with 10,000 yuan. She was so shocked she couldn't even speak. Her first reaction was, Nian Nian, you didn't do anything you shouldn't have, did you? I found it a bit amusing. Of course not, Mom. So I told her about the live streaming and video recording I did at school, and even showed her my account. This account now has over 500,000 followers. After a long while, my mom finally snapped out of her shock, a joyful smile spreading across her face. I held her hand. Don't be sad anymore, Mom. From now on, I'll make sure you live a good life, better than Dad and Anan. Once we had money, most of the troubles in life were easily resolved. My mother didn't grieve for too long over Zhouanen's departure. First, there's my company, and second, if Zhouanen is doing well, what reason does she have to be sad? As for my dad, she's thought it through even more clearly. He's just a man who abandoned his wife and daughter. What's there to be sad about? After my persuasion, my mother quit her job of sweeping the streets. With that money, she rented a house near my school and used my storefront to open a stationery shop. This way, she could have an income while also conveniently taking care of me, with no more worries. I threw myself wholeheartedly into my studies, 24 hours a day. Aside from eating, sleeping, live streaming, and editing videos, I study for over 15 hours. The knowledge accumulated from my past life, combined with my diligent study in this one, has allowed my academic performance to improve by leaps and bounds. I have firmly secured the top position in my grade, even with each exam. The scores kept improving, and so it went until the final year of high school. After the road outside the school was repaired, many mid to high-end shops were introduced. Once the news of building a commercial street was announced, plus, there's a school called Dizhong nearby, the storefronts on the street suddenly became highly sought after. Countless bosses called me, wanting to buy the 3 small storefronts and that large storefront in my possession. The price offered was getting higher each day, but I turned them all down. Until one Saturday, I received a phone call. The other party got straight to the point and introduced themselves. Hello, I'm Shintua. I'd like to discuss the sale of the 4 storefronts on Haijia Street with you, at the milk tea shop outside the school gate. Shintua looked at me in my school uniform and couldn't help but show a rare expression of surprise. It's actually you, Mr. Shin still remembers me. I've always had a photographic memory for faces. I smiled non-committally. Shintua did not show any contempt towards me because of my identity. I then straightforwardly said, Mr. Shin, the 4 storefronts I have in hand only require this amount. After speaking, I extended 5 fingers, 5 million. Shintua showed a surprised expression again. As far as I know, the prices of storefronts on Haijia Street have been skyrocketing. I believe you've received higher offers. So why are you still selling it to me at a low price? He wasn't afraid that I would cause any trouble. After all, compared to him, my experience is far less. Perhaps it's because I want to owe Mr. Shin a favor. Shintua was not surprised at all. What do you want? I saw in the news before that the old man of the Shin family passed away, and the Shin family is dividing the property. Shares that originally wouldn't have been sold are now being offered. Given my status, I certainly don't have the qualifications to buy these shares. I'd like to ask Mr. Shin to do me a favor. The news didn't actually make it that clear. All these things were what I learned in my previous life by following Shin Tua and listening to him. After the death of the Shin family patriarch, the family was in turmoil, with everyone clamoring to divide the inheritance. The stock price naturally continued to fall. Some shareholders began to sell off their holdings, but I knew that before long, Shin Tua was brought back to the Shin family. And after taking over the company, he not only revived it but even took it to new heights. Those who bought shares of the Shin family company at low prices in the past have seen their value multiply several times over in just a few years. Of course, even though the Shin family is in chaos now, but not just anyone can buy the shares. Shin Tua gave me a deep look. You're quite well informed. So, does that mean you agree, Mr. Shin? He shrugged. I have no reason to refuse, after all. Those selling the shares are his so-called uncles. He just needs to act as a bridge between me and those people. Let me connect with them and buy their shares. Who cares who it's sold to? After the deal was settled, Shin Tua sent over the contract not long after. As the seal was stamped, the heavy stone in my heart finally settled. With 5 million, I bought 4 million worth of shares. The person from the Shin family responsible for dealing with me thought I was a fool. But I knew that within 5 years, this 4 million would turn into a fortune coveted by many. The protagonist who changed all this, Shin Tuatsai, is sitting right in front of me at this moment. After the lawyer left, Shin Tua stood up to leave as well. I quickened my pace and caught up with him. After thinking for a long time, I still spoke up to remind him, Mr. Shin, although I have great faith in and admiration for your abilities, I must remind you that the person you trust may one day be the one to stab you in the back most viciously. Shin Tua raised an eyebrow in surprise. What do you mean by that? Nothing much. I was just studying history recently and came across those treacherous officials around the emperors, and it suddenly struck me, even an emperor, revered by thousands, cannot trust everyone. The higher one climbs, the lonelier one might become. I hinted at it subtly. In his previous life, after Shin Tua was brought back to the capital as an illegitimate child, he endured many disdainful looks and schemes. The only person he could trust was Uncle Zhang, who had struggled alongside him in Yuqing, but he never expected that Uncle Zhang had already turned against him. In the first year he took over the company, Uncle Zhang set a huge trap for him, nearly landing him in prison. After giving my reminder, I smiled and waved at him, then turned and left without looking back. Shin Tua watched my retreating figure with a thoughtful expression. Not long after he bought the storefront, a merchant moved in and began renovations. When the store opened, after Shin Tua personally cut the ribbon, he surprisingly invited me to a meal for the first time. I'm about to return to the capital. You're quite an interesting young lady. I hope we'll meet again in the future. After handling all matters, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to studying. 2 years passed, and I had already amassed over 3 million followers. Now, even without streaming or posting videos every day, I still earn a substantial income from advertisements alone. As a result, I reduced the frequency of my online activities and increased my study time, working even harder every day. Even the teacher advised me with a mix of relief and concern to balance work and rest. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. Soon, the day of the college entrance exam arrived. My mother was even more nervous than I was, speaking in a much softer tone every day, as if afraid of disturbing me. In the morning, she took me to school, but at the school gate, we ran into Zhouanen, my dad, and the woman surnamed Bai. The three of them craned their necks, looking around, and when they saw me, they walked over aggressively. Zhouanen was wearing a skirt, carrying a small bag, and dressed very fashionably. It seemed she was doing well. She looked at me smugly and blurted out, "Zhou Nian, haven't you dropped out yet? I didn't expect you to be so thick-skinned, able to stay this long." My mother shielded me behind her, looking at the three of them. It was as if they were looking at an outsider. "What are you here for?" my father said with dissatisfaction. "Nian is still my daughter after all. She's taking the college entrance exam. Can't I come to see her?" Bai rolled his eyes. "What's with their attitude? They act like we're trying to harm them, treating our goodwill as ill intent." Zhouanen flatteringly chimed in, "Exactly, Dad. I've said it all along. Zhou Nian definitely won't get into university. It's so hot here, we should head back early." My dad nodded along. Then, as if bestowing a favor, he said to me, "After all, we're father and daughter. Nian, if you don't get in, you can come work at my factory. I'll arrange an easy job for you." With that, the three of them got into the car and drove off without a second thought. My mother's face flushed with anger. "Nonsense, Nian studies so well, she's definitely going to do great on the exam." I patted her reassuringly. "Don't worry, Mom." Perhaps it was because I was holding in a breath of frustration. I was especially focused while working on the problems. My thoughts flowed more smoothly than before, when I handed in the paper. I even felt like I had performed exceptionally well. After the college entrance exam, I completely relaxed. I returned to the house in the county town with my mom and started organizing things, just waiting for the results to come out. After I fill out the school applications, I'll take her on a trip. On the day the results were released, my mother nervously waited in front of the computer, just waiting to know as soon as possible. Time passed bit by bit. Just as my mom and I were about to check the results, suddenly, a burst of giggling and laughter came from outside the door. How did it go, Zhonyan? What score did you get? Then, Zhonyan and the other two came in again. They swaggered through the door. Each face bore a hint of amusement, some more, some less. Zhonyan plopped down into a seat. Zhonyan, have you checked your results yet, Dad? Aunt Bai. And I came in person to see your scores and congratulate you. I said expressionlessly, I was going to check, but you guys came and wasted my time. Zhonyan curled her lips. That sounds nice, but you just did poorly and are too embarrassed to check. The one surnamed Bai said hypocritically, don't say that, Nyan must have done well. Her, even if she gets into college, isn't she still destined to work for others? Not like me, I don't worry about food or clothes now. I'm already living the life of a wealthy young lady. After she finished speaking, a flicker of disgust passed through Bai's eyes. My father also fell into a rare silence, but Zhonyan remained completely unaware, still chattering away, showing off to me. Just then, on the road outside the door, several cars came to a stop one after another. A group of people hurriedly got out of the cars, then they started putting up banners and playing music. The man in the lead, dressed in a suit, spoke in a high-pitched voice, "Is Zhonyan at home?" I stood up in confusion. What's wrong? The man excitedly grasped my hand. Congratulations, congratulations, Arno. One high school has been established for over 140 years, and this is the first time we've produced a provincial top scorer in the college entrance examination. Quick, where's the banner? Put it up. Where's the photographer? Come and record this. I want all the teachers and students in the school to see the face of the top scorer, me, my mom, Zhonyan and the other two. Zhonyan, the top scorer in the college entrance exam, is that even real? Zhonyan blurted out without thinking. As soon as the words were spoken, she was unceremoniously pushed aside by the principal and others, who were clearly displeased. Get out of here, what kind of cold-hearted talk is that? The scores are right there in black and white, how could they be fake? Zhonyan and the others looked at each other. Their expressions were extremely unpleasant. After a long while, she gritted her teeth and said, what's the use of being the top scorer in the college entrance exam? My dad is rich. I'm definitely going to have a better life than you. She turned her head, only to meet the frustrated expressions of her father and Aunt Bai. Both of them were filled with regret, thinking, why didn't we try harder back then? Perhaps the top scorer in the college entrance exam would have come from their family. As a result, their expressions toward Zhonyan turned displeased. They are twin sisters from the same mother. Why didn't Zhonyan become the top scorer in the college entrance examination? They spent so much money and raised her for so long. What a waste. Of course, Zhonyan knew nothing about all of this. She is still immersed in her princess dream. The three were left out in the cold, feeling awkward, and soon slunk away in embarrassment. My achievement as the top scorer in the college entrance exam quickly spread far and wide. Relatives from the past came to visit one after another. The school also made great efforts to promote my success. Naturally, my followers on my self-media account also found out. For a moment, they all went wild. Holy shit. I've been following this blogger for 2 years and have always admired her self-discipline. I believed she would succeed, but I never expected her to become the top scorer in the college entrance exam. That's absolutely incredible. Guys, can you even imagine? The study blogger I've been following for 3 years turned out to be the top scorer in the college entrance exam. Does this count as a successful investment? Oh my god, I'm so excited, looking back at the blogger's old videos now. I feel so fired up that I can't wait to sit up and start studying with her right away. The top scorer in the college entrance exam personally recorded a vlog for us to watch. Mom, I've made it. Who would have thought that the blogger I casually followed 3 years ago would become the top scorer? Suddenly, I feel a sense of shared pride. What's going on? As a result, my follower count suddenly skyrocketed. All the videos I recorded before have gone viral. By the end of the summer vacation, the account already had tens of millions of followers. When I finally freed myself from the busy schedule again, I heard that Zhonyan had actually gotten married. She is about the same age as me. She had just turned 18 not long after finishing the college entrance exams, yet she was married off by the woman surnamed Bai and my father to a man nearly 60 years old. I heard that the man was a partner in the Bai family's factory. He had originally planned to take his orders to a rival factory, but because he married Zhonyan, The Bai family's orders were secured. Hearing this, both my mother and I fell into an unusual silence. After a long while, she let out a deep sigh. It's all self-inflicted. In the end, I chose Tsinghua University and rented a house in the capital, planning to take my mother with me to develop in the capital. After all, the Shin family is also there. I also hold shares in the Shin family's company. The day my mother and I went to the capital, the sky in September suddenly lit up with lightning and thunder. I stood by the roadside, trying to hail a taxi. At that very moment, someone rushed toward me from behind. Zhou Nianyan, go to hell. After saying that, a gleaming white knife was thrust toward me. I dodged it with quick reflexes. Even so, my arm was still cut open. Enduring the pain, I looked up angrily and saw Zhouanan holding the knife, staring at me with venomous eyes, looking as if she wanted to devour me alive. With one strike failing, Zhouanan had already lost the initiative. Seeing the situation here, my mother was so frightened that she quickly ran over to shield me. When she got a clear look at Zhouanan's face, she froze for a moment, unable to believe it. And then, how could it be you? The person before her was Zhouanan, but she was completely different from the girl she had been just a few months ago. She had lost a lot of weight. Her face was frighteningly pale, and there were scars and bruises all over her body. She looked utterly haggard. She gritted her teeth tightly. Zhou Nianyan, it's all your fault. If it weren't for you, how could I have been forced by my father to marry that perverted old man? Why do you get to live a glamorous life while I have to struggle just to survive? You've ruined my entire life. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. After saying that, she raised the knife again. Fortunately, a passerby had already called the police. Soon, the police came and took Zhouanan away. Not long after, Zhouanan was sentenced to 10 years for attempted intentional homicide, and her post-marriage experiences were also exposed. Although the old man and the two members of the Bai family would not face legal punishment, the court of public opinion and online violence taught them a lesson in humanity. Soon, the Bai family's factory went bankrupt. Both of them went bankrupt as a result. After I went to study in the capital, Shintua personally received me. During the dinner, he smiled and told me something. After you reminded me last time, I went back and investigated the people around me. I never expected the one with issues to be Uncle Zhang. He was someone my mother left for me and had been with me for over a decade. I never thought he had already switched sides to my stepmother. After careful questioning, I found out he had actually tampered with the company's accounts. Fortunately, I discovered it in time. I nodded. Fortunately, nothing happened. Shintua asked me again, what are your plans for the future? I let out a sigh. The past and present began to overlap, of course, to welcome my brand new life. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My roommate bound herself to a life-stealing system. As long as she kept using my things, she would gradually acquire my face and abilities. In my previous life, she borrowed skincare products, clothes, and jewelry from me. Finally, with a face identical to mine, they pushed me into the sea to drown. From now on, I am the heiress of the James family. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of my freshman year. My new roommate fawned over me, trying to win my favor. Mia, I forgot to bring my shampoo. Can I borrow yours? I handed it to her expressionlessly. Sure. Then I turned around and gave the item to a homeless person. This time, I'm going to give her a different life. Mia, I forgot to bring shampoo. Can I borrow yours? I had just opened my eyes when I heard Emma's coquettish voice. Seeing the pleading face at the bathroom door, I finally realized that I had been reborn on the first day of my freshman year. In my previous life, Emma would also act coquettishly like this, borrowing this and that from me. From shampoo and skincare products at first, to clothes, bags, and jewelry, and even later when she went for an internship, she occasionally borrowed my car. My family was very wealthy, and my parents taught me from a young age not to be stingy with friends. Moreover, Emma used the excuse of being good friends, so I never took these small matters to heart. Until graduation day, we went on a vacation to the seaside. I heard her say disdainfully to other classmates, I've had enough of Mia for a long time. She thinks she can look down on others just because she's rich. If I had her conditions, I would definitely be better than her. Suppressing my anger, I waited until the banquet was over and confronted her. Who would have thought she would become so enraged and push me into the sea? Then, to my horror, her face slowly transformed into mine. Emma pressed my head firmly into the water. From now on, Mia, I am the heiress of the James family, and I will definitely live a more brilliant life than you. It was then that I realized Emma had long been bound to a life-stealing system. As long as she kept using my things, she would steal my energy. Eventually, she would steal my face and abilities, completely becoming me. Right now, I look at Emma's smiling face. It hasn't yet become mine, it's still completely her own face. I take a deep breath to calm myself, then hand her my shampoo with an expressionless face. Sure, go ahead and use it. Use it as long as you want, use whatever you want. This time, I will definitely give you a different life. The next night, when Emma was taking a shower, she asked to borrow my shampoo again. Mia, the shampoo I ordered online won't arrive for another 2 days. Can I borrow yours for now, once mine arrives? You can use mine too. I looked up. At this point, she and I weren't yet close, unlike in my past life, where later on, she could just take my things with a simple greeting. She wore an uneasy smile on her face. Seeing me look at her, she immediately said, "Don't worry, I'll only use a little. Mia, your family is so wealthy, and you're such a kind person, you'll definitely lend it to me, right?" The other two roommates exchanged glances upon hearing this and remarked sarcastically, "Just because her family is wealthy, does that mean she should lend it to you? Why don't you just go buy it at the supermarket?" Emma gave them a disdainful look. "You're not rich people, what do you know? We're not, but are you? Clueless fools, I'll be one sooner or later." Both roommates frowned and turned to persuade me, but they saw that I had already handed the shampoo to her. They hesitated to speak, and I smiled kindly. "It's okay." Before Emma entered the bathroom, she sneered at the two roommates. "Some people are just narrow-minded and can't stand to see others succeed. When I'm rich in the future and you're still working for others, you'll realize how wise I was." Emma used my shampoo to wash her hair for 3 days in a row. On the 4th day, she returned the shampoo to me with an excited look on her face. "My shampoo has arrived. Here's yours back, Mia. You're really too kind." As she spoke, she suddenly leaned in cautiously and pointed to the sunscreen on my desk. I forgot to buy sunscreen, and I noticed you seem to have extra. Could I borrow a tube? I'll return it once I buy my own." Return it? She never returned it in her past life. I expressionlessly took back the shampoo and then handed her the sunscreen. "Return it to me after the military training is over." Emma gratefully accepted the sunscreen, but as soon as she turned around, she curled her lips and cursed. "By the time the military training is over, this bottle of sunscreen will be used up." She still wants me to return it. She's rich but so stingy, so don't blame me. The day after Emma returned my shampoo, I noticed that her hair had become smoother and shinier than before. When she woke up early in the morning and saw her thick, lush hair, a look of pleasant surprise spread across her face, and she murmured, "I never thought it would actually work." But as soon as she turned around and saw my thick, dark, long hair, she shook her head in frustration. That's why she borrowed my shampoo for 3 days. She could have hair half as good as mine. If she could borrow it for more than 7 days, wouldn't that completely replace me? Thinking of this, she applied the sunscreen she borrowed from me last night while looking at my fair and smooth skin with envy. She wants my hair, my skin, and my figure too. A hint of madness gradually appeared in Emma's eyes. I pretended not to see, packed up my things, and went out. Today is the first day of military training. During the day, after and during the grueling training, in the evening, under the organization of the instructor, we started playing the handkerchief game. The handkerchief landed behind Emma, and she pretended not to see it. Then, amid everyone's teasing, she said with a mix of pride and shyness, "Then I'll sing a song for everyone." Her voice was pleasant, but it lacked any technique. Even several notes seemed to have run off to the Himalayas, especially since the performer before her was Jiang Huan, who had studied music. In comparison, she appeared even more ordinary. The classmates were quite honest. There were hardly even a few people to applaud. After Emma finished singing, seeing that no one praised her, she stamped her foot angrily and glared at Jiang Huan. Then, while I wasn't paying attention, she threw the handkerchief behind my back. She did it on purpose, because long before the start of school, she had heard my work on Quanming Keigo. It was simply a howl of ghosts and wolves. It was more than 10 times worse than hers. In my previous life, I indeed casually sang a song, and then I received a chorus of ridicule. Emma didn't seem as awkward in the background, but now, holding the handkerchief, I turned and pulled a ukulele from my backpack. "Let me play a tune for everyone." I know how to play many instruments, and the ukulele is one of the simplest among them. Even so, my fluent and melodious rendition of Zebra left everyone in awe. Everyone had just finished studying in a tense and exciting atmosphere, so who had time to learn an instrument? Even if they did, they never thought of bringing it out at this moment. Thus, my ukulele stood out remarkably. Plus, the pitch-black playground, the dim street lights, and the youthful boys and girls in their prime. As I finished playing, everyone erupted into thunderous applause. Even those from other companies came to listen to me play the piano. The enthusiasm of everyone stood in stark contrast to the indifference they had shown toward Emma just moments before. Perhaps others didn't notice, but Emma, squeezed into the corner, clenched her fists. After I finished playing, the instructor praised me, saying, "Excellent, you played very well for the military training performance. our company can recommend you to perform. Upon hearing this, Emma immediately spoke up. Instructor, what about the others? Upon hearing this, the instructor shook his head and said, each company only has one spot, and this is for ranking and earning academic credits. We should definitely recommend the most talented student in the company. What if others also want to participate? All right, from now on, we'll hold talent shows every night after training. If there are better candidates, we can select them. Upon hearing this, Emma nodded thoughtfully. The boys who were watching the excitement and not minding the trouble, upon seeing this, all teased, what's wrong, Emma? Do you want to go too? Oh dear, you don't even listen to what you're singing. Can it compare to the ukulele they're playing? Stop embarrassing yourself. Your singing isn't even half as good as Jiang Huan's. Going up there would just disgrace our company. Emma shot me a resentful glare in the darkness, then she said disdainfully, what do you all know? It's just playing the ukulele. I can even sing while playing. The performance spot is definitely mine. So, when she returned to the dormitory in the evening, she ingratiatingly approached me. Mia, can I borrow your ukulele? Don't worry, I promise I won't damage it. I'll definitely return it to you after the military training. Looking at her calculating gaze, I chuckled softly. Sure, the military training lasted for half a month. For the past 2 weeks, Emma has been carrying my ukulele with her every day. She takes it with her to meals, to military training, and even sleeps with it in her arms. Seeing this, her roommate teased her, if you can't play it, just return it to me sooner. What's the point of carrying it around every day? It's not like you can learn to play it just by holding it for a few days. Emma rolled her eyes and said, you guys don't understand, I can actually play, and I'm even better than Mia. Just wait for me to dazzle everyone tonight. That evening, after the training session, the instructor continued to organize the talent show. Because the performance is scheduled for tomorrow, not only can it earn you credits, but it's also a great opportunity to showcase yourself. So many students actively sign up. There are singing, dancing, and poetry recitals. Although there are many options, none of them can match the impact my ukulele has on them. After reading it, the instructor said loudly, after looking around, I still think Mia's performance is the best. He had barely finished speaking. Emma suddenly stood up, clutching my ukulele. Instructor, I can play and sing. Upon hearing this, the instructor's eyes lit up, playing and singing. That's even better than just playing without singing, and with accompaniment, even if Emma goes off key a few times. It won't be noticed. Moreover, her voice is a bit husky, which, paired with the ukulele, is perfect for singing folk songs. It just so happens that a few leaders above really like folk songs. The instructor immediately said, all right, you go ahead. If you play well, I'd be happy to recommend you. Emma's face lit up with joy. She had already checked the system just now. The energy had long been absorbed and completed. At the same time, my phone received a transfer notification for 10 yuan. Classmate said, thank you for being willing to sell me the ukulele at such a low price. This is my first time getting into an instrument, and I will definitely practice hard. I replied with a smile, no problem, after the military training ends, I'll bring it to your dorm. I turned off my phone, looked at Emma, and sneered coldly. The system's rule is that whoever owns an item can steal that person's skills, or abilities, or beauty, and with enough energy, even swap faces with them. Once the theft is successful, it's a perfect copy and paste, but if the item changes hands before the theft occurs, what was stolen would only be the new owner's ability. So, as early as last night, I had already sold this ukulele in a second-hand group chat, and the buyer was a complete newbie. After checking the energy, Emma immediately excitedly activated the theft skill. Then, she held the ukulele and walked to the very center of the company with her head held high. No one expected a dark horse to emerge halfway, and all eyes turned to her with anticipation. Emma followed my lead and sat down on the lawn. Then, she struck a pose and plucked the first string, but the next second, she frowned deeply. What's going on? Why was she so unfamiliar with this ukulele? Shouldn't all the knowledge and skills have flooded into her mind the moment she picked it up? She tried plucking another string. Another one was plucked, yet his expression grew increasingly unpleasant. The instructor and other classmates also noticed something was wrong. Why haven't you started yet? Do you even know how to play? Don't rush her, she might still be tuning. Doesn't making music require inspiration? Are you kidding? That ukulele was perfectly fine in Mia's hands just a few days ago, and she played it so well. How come it doesn't work when she's holding it? Listening to their comments, Emma's back was already soaked in cold sweat. It was unclear how much time had passed. The instructor stood up impatiently. Tonight's training is over. Let Mia handle tomorrow's performance report. Upon hearing this, Emma immediately grabbed the instructor's sleeve. No, I can play too. You have to give me this opportunity. Then why don't you play? Emma was so anxious that she kept cueing the system. However, aside from stealing energy, the system never showed up normally. until the head instructor blew the whistle signaling the end of the training. Emma held that ukulele. Not a single note was played again. The instructor turned away helplessly. Then the spot will go to classmate Mia. I said thank you and pointed at Jiang Huan, saying, I want to team up with Jiang Huan. She can sing, and I'll play the ukulele. Jiang Huan is the girl who studied music. In her past life, Emma stole Jiang Huan's singing skills. She incorporated performance elements into her singing. It was only then that I got the chance to shine in the performance report. This opportunity should have been Jiang Huan's. If I could go, she should naturally go too. The instructor nodded. That's even better. As soon as I returned to the dorm, Emma couldn't wait to find me. She got straight to the point. Mia, what's going on? Why can you play tunes with this ukulele? But I can't. I pretended to be puzzled and tilted my head. I can play because I know how. Don't you know how to play? Emma was left speechless. That's not really what she wanted to ask. But she was afraid of exposing the system. She had no choice but to force a smile and try to cover it up. Of course not. I just didn't want to take your spot. Since I consider you a good friend. I let out a scoff, took the ukulele from her hands, and headed out of the dorm. She immediately stopped me. Where are you going? I said. To return the ukulele. I borrowed it from another classmate. Emma paused for a moment, then suddenly understood. You mean, the ukulele isn't yours? She suddenly understood, so it wasn't a system issue. The next second, a surge of anger rose in Emma's heart. Why didn't you say so earlier? She glared at me reproachfully. If she had known the ukulele was borrowed, she would never have taken the ukulele away. Isn't there a girl in the company who sings well? She steals her singing skills. Add a little innovation. How can we secure a spot? Thinking of this, Emma immediately stopped me again. It's all your fault for not telling me clearly in advance. Making me miss this opportunity. Mia, you have to take responsibility for me. Since you can team up with Jiang Huan, you can add me in too. I turned to look at her and sneered. Blame me. You said you wanted to perform the ukulele. And I even borrowed the instrument for you. What right do you have to blame me? As for teaming up, what talent do you have, singing or dancing? Perhaps my words were too sharp. Emma also realized that her attitude had been too hasty just now. She immediately softened her tone. I didn't mean it that way. Oh, Mia, you're the first friend I made in college. Aren't friends supposed to help each other? Add me in, and I'll help liven up the atmosphere for you all. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. Not needed. With that, I turned and walked away. Emma stared at my resolute back, grinding her teeth in frustration. Who do you think you are, acting all high and mighty, just because your family paid for you to learn a few instruments? I'm clearly smarter and more talented than you. Just wait. When the time comes, even if you beg me, I won't give you a second glance. After delivering the ukulele, I didn't head back to the dorm right away. Instead, I turned and went to the dorm supervisor's office. Auntie, these are some skincare products I bought, all genuine, high-end brands. They just don't suit me, so I'd like to give them to you. The dorm supervisor accepted them with pleasant surprise. Then, she found the nearly empty bottle of sunscreen. She asked me, why is this already used? I pretended not to know. Oh, maybe I accidentally grabbed the wrong one. It's fine. Anyway, the military training is over. And I don't really need it anymore. You can have it too. If you don't want to use it, just throw it away. The dormitory aunt nodded upon hearing this. It's fine. I'm not picky. A while later, while the aunt was taking a shower, I sneaked in again and swapped out the skincare set I had given her with an identical one. This is stealing. The stolen skincare products still belonged to the dormitory supervisor. After I rejected Emma, she didn't come to borrow things from me for a while. She planned to find a new target to steal abilities from, but no matter how hard she looked, she couldn't find a girl more beautiful, outstanding, or from a better family background than me. But last time we parted on bad terms, she couldn't bring herself to come to me to borrow something. She was even more afraid that I wouldn't lend it to her, which would embarrass her. Her hesitation continued until she confessed her feelings to a senior in her department. The other person said to her, "Sorry, but I actually like Mia from your class. I only helped you because I wanted to use your connection to add her as a friend. Could you help me get in touch with her?" Emma asked with red eyes. "I've been caring for you and helping you with everything these past few days. You don't even know Mia, so why do you like her and not me? What does she have that I don't?" Hearing someone he liked being belittled naturally made the senior unhappy. He immediately frowned and retorted without hesitation, "She's prettier and has better poise than you. Any normal person would choose her over you, right?" Emma was furious. She left with a parting shot. "You'll regret this." He ran back to the dormitory and aggressively rummaged through my skincare products, saying, "Mia, lend me your skincare products." Emma suddenly appeared, startling the other roommates. After hearing her words clearly, they immediately frowned and said, "You have your own. Why do you keep using Mia's? If you're going to borrow something, at least have the right attitude." acting so high and mighty, anyone would think Mia owes you something. Their words made Emma, who had been boiling with anger, calm down. She put on a flattering smile again. Mia, I was just too anxious earlier. Don't take it to heart. You're so generous and wealthy. It's just a bit of skincare products. Surely you're willing to lend them to me, right? The system had told her before. As long as she uses enough of my skincare products, she can steal my beauty, becoming fair-skinned and attractive, with delicate features. I leaned back in my chair, smiling faintly as I said, "What makes you think I should lend it to you?" Emma immediately grew anxious. "You're so wealthy, yet you're so stingy. Aren't we friends? How can you be so unfriendly?" The other two roommates, upon hearing this, were about to retort. At that moment, I added, "My skincare products cost thousands of dollars each. I can't just let you use them for free, can I?" Emma really wanted to curse, but for the sake of beauty, she endured it. "What do you want then?" "This week's off-campus practical activity for the dorm. The three of us don't want to go. You can do it for all of us by yourself." As soon as I finished speaking, Emma immediately jumped up in protest. "It's over 30 degrees outside. And there's so much work to do. Am I supposed to handle it all by myself?" I withdrew my gaze. "If you're not willing, then forget it." Emma looked at the array of high-end skincare products covering the table, thinking of the senior's words again. Finally gritting my teeth, I said, "All right, I'll help you do it." Early on the weekend morning, after using my skincare products, Emma glared angrily at us who were still resting, then put on her volunteer uniform and stormed out. Seeing her leave, the other two roommates poked their heads out. Did she really go, just to use Mia's skincare products? If you ask me, without the financial means, yet still dreaming of using luxury items, she's crazy. She just sees that Mia is easy to talk to and wants to take advantage. Mia, next time just say no to her. We can handle the volunteer activities ourselves. Listening to their words, I revealed a meaningful smile. In her previous life, Emma, relying on her system, never took her roommates seriously. She rarely participated in such thankless social activities. Every time, it was the other roommates who helped her sign in and clock out. Now it's her turn to repay these karmic debts. Emma covered for us during the 2-day outdoor activities over the weekend. When she returned, she had tanned a shade darker. Filled with resentment, she used my skincare products without holding back. I followed her. Perhaps it was my calm attitude that made her feel the relationship between us had eased. After that, she began openly asking me for things, and each time, I would have her run errands or attend classes on our behalf. It's not that I haven't thought about refusing her, it's just that even if she doesn't steal from me, she'll target others. After all, stolen things are irreversible, rather than letting her harm others. I'd rather deal with her myself. Half a semester passed in the blink of an eye. The school began selecting etiquette ambassadors. They were responsible for the opening and closing ceremonies of award events and large-scale galas. Such activities typically drew the attention of the entire school. Therefore, the standards for etiquette ladies are extremely high. I naturally signed up to participate. Along with me, Emma also signed up. The registration forms were submitted collectively, and when the classmates saw Emma's name prominently listed among them, they immediately said, "Wait, the etiquette hostess requires a height of at least 1.65 meters, and isn't Emma even under 1.6 meters? Mia has both looks and a great figure, and her presence is impressive. You have nothing, so you'd better not go." Emma got anxious and typed angrily, "Who do you think you're looking down on? You're just sucking up to Mia because she's rich, a bunch of snobs. I'll definitely make you all eat your words in this competition." Her words offended everyone. Everyone rolled their eyes and said, "We were just giving you a suggestion, we didn't mean anything else." Exactly, these large-scale competitions are all live-streamed online, and there are many spectators on site. If you embarrass yourself, it's your own face you'll be losing. Although the preliminary round requirements are quite lenient, only requiring height and posture to meet the standards, your height of 1.6 meters clearly falls short. Forget it, don't try to persuade her. It's like trying to reason with a mad dog. I think Emma has gone crazy. Emma's gaze was icy, her teeth clenched as she muttered a few low curses. Not long after, I finished washing the clothes and came in from outside. Emma rushed over to my laundry basin as if she had found a lifeline, frantically rummaging through it. "Mia, I signed up for the etiquette pageant, but I don't have any nice clothes. Could you lend me 2 outfits?" Before I could even speak, the other 2 roommates pushed her away. "Emma, I think you've gone crazy. Borrowing makeup and skincare products is one thing, but now you're even borrowing clothes. These are personal items, you know." "Exactly. It's not like you don't have your own clothes to wear. You're just trying to keep up appearances because Mia buys all designer brands." Emma's eyes were red as she glared at them fiercely. "What do you know? It's just a few outfits. Do you think I care about them?" If it weren't for the fact that the preliminary competition is in a week and I need to be 165 centimeters tall, who would want to wear someone else's clothes? Since you don't appreciate it, then I don't need to lend it to you. I snatched the clothes from her hands and walked expressionlessly to the balcony to hang them up. Seeing this, Emma scolded me from behind. Mia, how can you be so heartless? I helped you with so much work earlier. What's wrong with borrowing 2 sets of clothes from you? It's not like I won't return them. This is my stuff. Lending it to you is a favor. Not lending it is my right. Stop trying to guilt-trip me with your twisted logic. Emma glared at me with resentment. Originally, the system had told her, as long as enough energy is accumulated, she could even replicate a face identical to Mia's, yet she was still hesitating. Now, seeing my attitude, she stared at me gloomily for a long time before finally gritting her teeth and saying, "System, I want to replace Mia and make her disappear from this world forever." Emma, of course, would not give up so easily. She could only rely on the system to become taller and more beautiful in a short time. She could have easily chosen someone else, but I had suppressed her in every way, and her heart had become twisted with jealousy. Surpassing me had become her obsession, since I refused to lend it. She decided to steal it, so that night, I quietly lifted the bed curtain, and saw Emma as if she were sleepwalking, standing on the balcony, wearing my clothes. The scene was so bizarre, I fell silent for 2 seconds. Without hesitation, I took out my phone and recorded the moment. A week later, the preliminary round for the etiquette competition soon arrived. Only Emma and I from our class had signed up. But everyone was very interested in the competition, so almost the entire class showed up. Originally, Emma and I were supposed to travel together, but the incident of borrowing clothes last time ended very unpleasantly. Emma no longer conceals her hostility towards me. Seeing me, she rolled her eyes and didn't even want to acknowledge me. My roommate was speechless. She's the one who's angry. What kind of person is that? I've never seen anyone so bizarre. Emma heard her muttering. He sneered. You're still trying to curry favor with Mia, but soon she'll be nothing. By then, you won't even have time to try and win me over. I couldn't be bothered with her and went backstage to change, but I found that the evening gown I had brought had a large cut in the waist. It was almost unwearable. At that moment, Emma walked in carrying a bag of clothes. I looked at her expressionlessly. You did this. We had already torn off all pretense of cordiality. Perhaps Emma already had other plans in mind. She didn't even bother pretending anymore. Yes, I cut it, Mia. The champion of this competition can only be me. You should just drop out now. I looked her up and down and said, even if I withdraw, do you really think you have what it takes to win the championship? Emma was speechless for a moment. Mia, who do you think you're looking down on? Don't assume everyone is like you, thinking you can look down on anyone just because your family has money. This time, I'll show you that even without money, I can still beat you. Just wait. This is only the beginning. After saying that, she took an S-sized evening gown and walked into the dressing room with her head held high, and after she went in, I immediately took out a new dress from the closet, and I requested the organizers to postpone my performance to the last slot. When Emma came out of the dressing room, I was no longer there. She snorted smugly, then took a deep breath and tried to pull up the zipper of her dress. It wouldn't budge. She is 158 meters tall and weighs 120 pounds, so an S size is simply too small for her to fit into. At that moment, other contestants entered the dressing room. Seeing her in this comical state, they couldn't help but laugh and say, "You can't even fit into the dress. Are you going to make a fool of yourself on stage?" Emma glared at her fiercely, sizing her up from head to toe. "Your legs are so thick, and you have the nerve to laugh at me." The girl's face flushed red. "At least I'm not as broad-shouldered and thick-waisted as you. You don't know a damn thing. In a moment, I'll have a better figure than all of you, and I'll make you self-righteous women eat your words." After saying that, she immediately fled the changing room and found a secluded spot. "System, I'm ready. Hurry up and help me change." "Okay." Detecting that the host has sufficient energy, now proceeding with the replacement of bodily functions. As this voice sounded, Emma's face grew increasingly flushed with excitement. She stared intently from the window at the competition venue, watching the girls with their pretty faces and good figures. Soon, she would be just like them. No, she would become even more beautiful than them. As long as she accumulates a bit more energy, she can take Mia's face. When the time comes, she will definitely trample these snobbish people under her feet. Emma is immersed in excited fantasies. At the same time, she felt her field of vision growing wider and wider. It seemed she had grown quite a bit taller. It looks like it was a success. Replacement complete. With the system's prompt tone, the competition organizers' call for numbers sounded. "Next, please get ready, Emma." She immediately stood up excitedly and headed towards the competition venue, completely unaware that a cool breeze seemed to be blowing against their back. A large area of skin was exposed to the air. Next, please get ready, Emma. Coming, I'm right here. Emma raised her hand and squeezed into the crowd. As soon as she stood still, countless gazes from all around turned toward her. First, there was shock, then disbelief, and finally, a complex mix of emotions that was hard to put into words. Wait, is she serious? Oh my God, is this a girl? Could it be some kind of transgender person? Holy crap! What they're wearing is way too avant-garde. I feel like my eyes have taken 10,000 points of damage. Whispers spread all around. Emma, however, simply assumed they were all stunned by her beauty. She confidently walked onto the stage. As soon as she stood still, the 5 judges on the panel immediately spat out a mouthful of water. They looked at the registration form again and again, repeatedly confirming, "Classmate, did you come to the wrong competition?" Emma raised her head confidently, ready to showcase her graceful figure. Suddenly, the live camera swept over her, projecting her image onto the big screen. Emma glanced at it and was struck as if by lightning, freezing on the spot. What's going on? Where was the fair, flawless skin she had always dreamed of? Why had it become mottled and wrinkled, resembling the skin of a 50-year-old woman? Her long, slender legs and waist, which she had been so determined to achieve, had become thick and sturdy, almost like a man's. Her goal of growing taller had indeed been achieved, but wasn't Mia supposed to be 170 centimeters tall? Why did she now seem as tall as 180 centimeters? Emma looked at the unfamiliar self in the picture. She turned her head, and the other would turn as well. Whatever expression she made, the other would mirror it. Emma suddenly let out a scream and fell to the ground. My face. What she wanted were delicate features like Mia's, not a face that had aged 40 years in an instant. There were quite a few people below who recognized Emma. Seeing her like this, everyone took out their phones and started taking pictures. Although Emma is now 8 meters tall, with a burly build like a man, and looks at least 30 years older, but from her facial features, it can still be vaguely recognized that this person is Emma. Everyone was shocked. Holy shit, what kind of black magic did Emma pull? She looked perfectly fine this morning. Did she get a sex change? Or was she taken over by aliens? This is just too bizarre. This is terrifying. I'm posting this on my social media. Who would have guessed she used to be a 19-year-old student? Under the strange gazes from the audience, Emma completely broke down. She tore at her own face, screaming and shouting on stage. The organizers had no choice but to have her removed from the stage, but she didn't stay down for long. I walked up, wearing a red dress. I remained calm and composed, and the 5 judges immediately gave high scores. Emma saw this scene. Suddenly, she rushed onto the stage as if gone mad, like tearing at her own face. She was about to lash out and tear at mine. How is this possible? Why have I become like this? Did you do something, Mia? It must be you. You're jealous of me. You tampered with something. How could I have turned out like this? Give me back my beauty. Give me back my good figure. Give it all back to me. Everyone quickly restrained her, intending to hand her over to the instructor. I was protected in the middle by my classmates, watching her go crazy with indifference. I did indeed give her a push that led to her becoming like this. She borrowed my skincare products, but I had already given them to the dormitory auntie in her 50s. As for the clothes she secretly wore in the middle of the night, I also packed them up last night and gave them to the homeless person at the school gate. Although he is a man, the homeless person can still keep warm by cutting and sewing his clothes together, which is better than using old newspapers. Mia, you bitch, I will make you pay sooner or later. As long as I'm alive and you're still in this school, I won't lose. Everything you have will be mine eventually. Just you wait. I will make you suffer 1,000 times more than I am now. Emma was still shouting at the top of her lungs. Suddenly, I took out my phone and projected the video of her secretly wearing my clothes in the middle of the night onto the big screen. Amidst everyone's stunned silence, I pointed at Emma and said, "As you can see, she's mentally unstable and may have been injected with some kind of virus, causing physical changes. I suggest calling the police and sending her to a research institute to thoroughly investigate what virus it is." Hearing the suggestion to call the police, Emma calmed down. She couldn't afford to go to jail. She still had the system. Her life wasn't over yet. So, under everyone's skeptical gaze, she returned to normal. "No, don't call the police. I'm fine. I just took some hormone medication, and it's having an effect. I'll be fine after resting for a few days. We're all classmates. You could tell I was normal before, right?" Upon hearing this, the others hesitated and nodded. They were all students. Watching the commotion was one thing, but if they actually called the police and ended up having to take responsibility, they didn't want to deal with all that trouble. So, they all said, forget it. She seems quite normal now. Maybe it really was the drug hormones. That's quite pitiful. We'll let her off this time, but don't go crazy again next time. It's terrifying." Emma assured them, "Don't worry, it definitely won't happen again." But as soon as she turned around, a sinister expression appeared on her face. She stared at me intently and said, "Mia, you just wait, I'll make you pay." Although Emma doesn't understand why she has become like this, but she doesn't believe that her system has been discovered by me, that is something of a higher dimension. She attributed all of this to my stinginess. I was unwilling to lend things to her, so I gave her fakes or something else to use, but it didn't matter, she already had better things. She had already assured the system that this thing must belong to me. As long as she absorbs enough energy and doesn't let the thing fall into someone else's hands, she can definitely replace me. That afternoon, Emma moved out of our dormitory. At the same time, I discovered that the jade Buddha I had worn for 15 years, which I never took off, was missing. At the end of the semester, the class organized a mountain climbing trip. Although Emma had changed dormitories, she had not dropped out, so she was also part of the group. When we reached the mountaintop, everyone started setting up tents and preparing for a picnic. I and 2 other roommates were assigned to gather firewood. As I was picking them up, I suddenly realized that the area around me was empty. Just as I was about to call out to them, Emma's eerie voice suddenly came from behind me. "Mia, I've finally waited for this day." I turned around and met her gloomy smile. Instinctively, I scanned my surroundings, looking for a chance to escape. "You're not thinking of running, are you, Mia? You have no chance." She walked towards me step by step. The path beside me was already narrow, blocked by her like this. There was suddenly no way to escape. Seeing me driven to a dead end, Emma revealed a frenzied smile. "You're clever. And you might have already sensed that there's a trick behind me borrowing things from you. But so what, unless you never lose anything in your entire life, even if you throw away a single tissue, I can use it to steal your energy and slowly replace you." She pressed on step by step. "I originally planned to boil the frog slowly, letting you enjoy yourself a little longer, but you're just too ungrateful, Mia. People like you, who think they're better than others just because you come from a wealthy family, deserve to die. They flatter you only because you have money. And men like you only because of your face. Without these, you're nothing. Why should you step on my head?" I frowned as I looked at her. "You're wrong. While I've had support from my family, most of what I've achieved is the result of my own hard work. It's truly absurd for you to think you can take shortcuts and steal someone else's life." "Shut up. You can fool yourself with those words, but you won't fool me. Anyway, I've already absorbed enough energy through your jade Buddha. Starting today, I will replace you and become the Yen lady of the James family, while you take my secret and disappear forever." After saying this, she shifted her tone and murmured into the void, "System, hurry up and turn me into Mia." I looked at Emma in astonishment. Even across past and present lives, I knew she had a system, but witnessing her transform right before my eyes still left me stunned. About half a minute later, Emma looked at me again, but this time, her face was completely gone. In its place was the face of an old woman, covered in scars and with a bluish-gray complexion. Emma seemed to sense that something was wrong. She touched her own face. When she felt the hideous scar, she suddenly let out a sharp scream. Then, with a venomous glare, she stared fixedly at me. "How is that possible, Mia? That jade Buddha has been your personal item since you were a child. How could it not be yours?" My expression of surprise gradually gave way to a teasing smile. Looking at her terrified expression, I slowly said, "Who told you that you have to wear your own things since childhood?" "When I was 5 years old, I went to a mountain temple to worship the Buddha. On the way, I encountered an old woman with a fierce face, covered in scars. She calculated that I was destined to face a calamity and took out a jade Buddha, saying that this object could help me avert this disaster. I still remember it to this day. At that time, she clearly stated that she was only lending the item to me. One day, when I see her face again, I can return the item to her." Looking at Emma, who had the exact same face as the old woman, I gritted my teeth, mustered all my strength, and shattered the jade Buddha in a fit of rage. So this is what the old woman meant by return. Even after smashing the jade Buddha, Emma still wasn't satisfied. She said in a chilling tone, "Mia, my life is ruined because of you. I'm finished. And you won't get away with it either. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me." After saying this, she made a move to lunge at me. At that moment, my roommate, who had disappeared earlier, immediately rushed out and pinned Emma down. "Call the police, Mia. Emma is just too inhuman. She must be sent to a research institute." Damn, I saw her transform into a living person with my own eyes. It was absolutely terrifying. Even before going up the mountain, I had anticipated that Emma would make a move against me, so I had already warned my roommates in advance, asking them to prepare a high-definition camera to save my life at the critical moment. At first, they thought I was exaggerating, but having experienced being drowned in her previous life, the current Emma is only more insane. It's not impossible for her to try to kill me right in front of so many people. They tied Emma up, then they sent me the footage recorded by the camera. Along with the changes in Emma that I had captured earlier, I asked my father to send the person and the items to the research institute. Not long after, the research results came out. As expected, they discovered high-dimensional technology in Emma's mind that does not belong to this world. Now that Emma has become like this, the technology seems to have died, and they are trying to figure out how to extract it for further study. As for the outcome after the separation, what about Emma's result? Probably, it will remain like this forever. Plus, she is aging rapidly. All the cells and organs in her body are no different from those of an elderly person. If change does not come, then one can only wait for natural aging and death. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.